In studio with me is Dr. Becky Newman of the Lloydminster Animal Hospital. Thank you for making the time today. A topic that's popped up in the news more than a few times and pops up on podcasts quite a bit as well is having animals on planes, or specifically having your pets with you, your emotional support dog, that kind of thing. Is that something that you often get asked about when you're at work at the hospital?
Yeah, we get asked on a very regular basis about people going to be traveling with their pets and what we know about the guidelines and whether they should look at sedating their pet or not. So I would say it's a conversation with so many people traveling down to the States in the winter time. It's a conversation we have on a, if not daily, at least a few times a week.
Certainly. So what do you think then in terms of how it's changed now? Because compared to 5 years ago, you didn't see that many animals on planes. You see it kind of all the time.
Right. So I know the airlines do have very specific guidelines on how many animals can be on each flight. They won't allow too many pets on any flight. I think it's often under 4, but you can check that with whatever airline you're flying with. And they do have guidelines based upon the size of your dog. And for flying in the cabin with you, they usually want the dog to be in a soft-sided kennel, so one that kind of looks like a duffel bag. It's a soft side, not a hard side, and it has to fit in the seat underneath you, in front of you. And so it has to stay there for the whole flight.
So not going to see mastiffs on a plane anytime soon?
No, you shouldn't be seeing those. The only time you should see the big dogs on planes would be like you're talking about, if it is an emotional support dog, if it's a seeing eye dog. I do have some clients who participate in search and rescue, and those very well-trained dogs are allowed to fly on the planes as well.
And speaking of well-trained, is that something you would advise certainly your patients or clients that you talk to? If they're going to take their animal with them, it should be a situation where they know their animal can react well to stress, or if, I guess the opposite is true, where their animal doesn't react well to stress. You wouldn't recommend that.
That is the exact conversation that I have with clients all the time. If you have a pet that reacts negatively to stressful situations and is easily stressed out themselves, then airline travel might not be the best for them. The other conversation that I have is that if you have spent the time and trained your pet that they are comfortable being in a small kennel for extended periods of time, then that's great. They might travel really well with you on an airline. But if you haven't put that time and commitment into training your pet, if they don't travel well in the car, coming to the vet clinic or places like that, then the chances of them doing well on airline travel are pretty low as well. A lot of people come to me with the question, should I sedate my dog to fly on the plane? And I know a lot of airlines don't recommend that because sometimes you don't know for sure how the pet is going to react to the sedation. And if it does come to the point where we think your pet does need some anxiety medications or sedation, we would always recommend that we have time to try those medications at home and see how your pet reacts before you would even think of giving that to your pet before you put them on an airline. But yeah, my general guideline is if they don't travel well or like to be in a kennel at home, then airline travel probably isn't the best thing for them.
And obviously that then kind of moves to the next side of the conversation, which is just what level is it, courteous or not courteous. So the critics, I guess, of having animals on the airplane is that it could be an allergic situation for some animals and some people. Though, as you were kind of telling me off camera, that's not necessarily as grave a concern as some other types of allergies are. People aren't typically that allergic to animals.
Yeah, and there's a whole range of how allergic people can be to pets, but in most situations it wouldn't be a case of an anaphylactic, very severe reaction where people could usually, they're not often fatal, I guess.
Right.
It would be more so that you get you're getting dry nose and throat, you're getting stuffy, itchy, things like that. So yes, I would say a peanut allergy or something would probably be more severe. I did, when I was doing some research on flying, the one pet that they talked about in particular was cats. And if you're flying with a cat, they do often request that you sit at the back of the airplane because people tend to be more allergic to cat dander than they might be to dogs.
Okay. And so in general, when people make this choice, not only for the health of the pet, but also when they're thinking about customers, you should just simply think of both generally being courteous, but also thinking of what's the best fit for you and your pet.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, I think you want to be courteous to the people around you. You don't want a dog being disruptive on a flight, or you don't want a dog that's acting really stressed out as well. If they're really anxious, I mean, that's not good for your pet. They're going to fly worse the next time if they're that anxious this time around. And it's definitely an inconvenience to those around you. A lot of people, if they're going on extended vacations, want to take their pet with them to kind of share that experience with them. But on a shorter term vacation, it may be less stressful for your pet to go to a boarding kennel or stay with a family member that they're familiar with already.
Awesome. Thank you again for coming into studio, and hopefully more people have a more clear picture when they head out on their vacation.